I believe it all started with the Dunkin' Donuts 3 for 3 offer. There's a gas station on the route back home from my university that houses a DD joint. On my first ever trip during spring break, I had stopped to fill up the tank and caved in on this special offer. Eleanor and I devoured the entire half-dozen box while rewatching all of our favorite rom-coms. Since then, it was our homecoming tradition. However, this time, a box of chocolate-covered glazed goodness was not met with the same warmth as always. Do you know how many carbs are there in a single donut? Eleanor picked one up to exaggerate her point. This is all she spoke about these days: carbs, calories, body fat. Her vocabulary was limited to random 2 a.m. fitness influencer videos that she watched, along with a recent obsession with Korean pop music videos that fed her with impossible body standards. Eleanor was never chubby or overweight. To anyone's eyes, she had a normal body for an 18-year-old, muscle and fat in the right places. Unfortunately, she didn't share the same view. She would poke at random bulges, pinch them between her fingers, and pout. She was awake before the sun rose, and by the time I woke up, she'd be back from a long run, sweating profusely. I didn't pay much heed, satisfied as long as she was healthy, until she nearly passed out one morning after her run. Our mom worked as a general surgeon, so we were accustomed to fixing a meal ourselves from a young age. It was only then I discovered Eleanor practically ate scraps, barely enough to sustain her energy daily. This has got to stop. It's unhealthy, and you're only harming yourself. Imagine how furious Mom would be if she knew you fainted. I couldn't contain my fury. Eleanor watched me pace the room, taking small bites of the food I reheated, slowly showing a little color in her cheeks after she gained consciousness. Please don't tell Mom. She'll freak out and worry for no reason. It's nothing. I'm fine, she insisted. Nothing? Eleanor, you fainted. I pushed myself a little extra today. I just wanted to drop the last couple of pounds. Jody, please, I swear I'll do better. I promised to let it go as long as she maintained a healthy balance. A few days passed, until an advert popped up in the newspaper. Eleanor sneakily slid it in my way to read. New You Weight Loss Center. All it takes is one session to get the body of your dreams. Visit us now and you'll feel like a whole new person. Open now for appointments. After hours of pleading and convincing, I finally agreed to Eleanor's whims, and we booked an appointment to check it out. She insisted I don't wait as I dropped her off. The receptionist told me it would take more than 4 hours for the procedure to complete. I read the terms and conditions twice to ensure that there was no foul play. A part of me was still hesitant. I held Eleanor's hand tightly. You're stunning, Eleanor. Regardless of what the scale says, you don't have to do this. She hugged me tight and told me to relax. It was just a weight loss program. What's the worst that could happen? I went back home and patiently waited for Eleanor's return. As she walked through the door late evening, she looked the same, but exhausted. She sat down and explained the process. She couldn't recollect all of it, and the details were a little fuzzy, but she said it was probably because of the fatigue. At dinner, Eleanor devoured her food to the last bite. I had never seen her eat so much the entire time I was home. After scarfing down a meal worthy to feed 3, she topped it off with Ben & Jerry's while I watched in awe. That went on for 2 whole weeks. Eleanor stopped going on her runs. She stayed in her room most of the time, tucked under the covers, only coming out during meal times. She'd eat more than one can imagine, and munch on a snack back to her room. Yet she never seemed to gain a single pound. Over time, her body began to shrink to the bone, her cheekbones protruding through her pale face, a result of staying indoors all day. I would try to talk to her, but she'd rush off into her room and lock herself in. It started to reek even as I stood at the door. One night, I woke up to the sound of banging shelves. I creeped out into the living room and saw the light coming from the kitchen. "Eleanor?" I called out as I walked into the kitchen. I saw her, hunched over the sink, stuffing something into her mouth. "Elle?" I whispered, leaning in close. Raw meat. Eleanor ripped the pieces with her hands and shoved them down faster than lightning. I took her shoulder, trying to break her out of this grotesque state. "Eleanor!" I yelled.
"Eleanor's not here anymore,"
she screamed, shoving me with enough force that I landed on my back. I scurried to my room, running as fast as I could. Her voice, her strength, it was all so different. The next morning, I drove down to the weight loss center. As I took the turn, I saw an empty lot instead of the establishment I had visited. It was right here. I dropped her off. I signed the agreement, and I even spoke to the receptionist. My head was pounding as I sat in my car. Thoughts of last night came pouring in. I hurried back to the house, preparing to confront my sister. I walked up to her room and found it unlocked. I slowly let myself in. I covered my nose with my arms as the stench hit. Her room was worse than a pigsty. Scraps of half-eaten food lying everywhere. God only knows how old. I slowly walked in, the smell getting fouler as I got closer to a closet. I reached for the closet door and pulled it open. I screamed my heart out as Eleanor's body fell to my feet. I looked at my sister, my baby sister, lifeless. The source of the horrid stench, her ashen face looked like she'd been gone for days. I controlled the bile that rose through my throat, stumbling back a few steps. "Oh, Jody." It was her voice. I looked down, but I knew she didn't move. "I warned you, Jody." It came from behind. She sounded different, angry. I felt paralyzed. I heard the floorboards creak as she moved towards me. I turned around slowly and was met with hollow, dark eyes. Her shriveled body crawling towards me like an insect. I felt her foul breath on my face as she inched closer.
"Eleanor's not here anymore."
The last thing I saw was her blood-covered, toothy smile as she crawled to the window and leaped out.